Hello and welcome to the Michael Mama Show, Ancient Secrets Revealed, and we're coming to you from Mount Soma, home of the Sri Symmetrical Temple in the mountains of western North Carolina. It's comfortable outside now, temperature-wise. I think it's probably 50, or I don't really know. But we have a cold front coming in this afternoon. It starts, except for Monday and Tuesday, next couple of days, it's going to be really cold. And I guess it's a front coming all the way down from Russia, Siberia. So, Scotty, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, good. In fact, I thought we'd start with Scotty. We'll hear a little bit more about current status in LA and what's going on there from the front lines. So, Scotty,
Yeah.
go ahead and take over and what's going on.
Well, everything is obviously just been pulled up in the air and just shaken out. But there's a lot of stuff happening in terms of developments and things about the property and stuff. So like some biggest things is that probably the median price of a home there was about $4 million, plus, so what's happening is there's thousands of people that got their insurance canceled, a few months ago.
Yeah.
Well, the insurance companies were like, okay, it's I can't believe they don't do it in Florida and some of these other places where there's these reoccurring things, like hurricanes and tornadoes and all that. People just rebuild their homes.
That don't do what? Cancel the insurance?
Yeah, that they don't get their insurance canceled as well.
Yeah.
Because that's what they're saying, is that they can't afford it, to be here.
I understand part of that has to do with the California laws, and they're so restrictive on insurance companies, they make it even harder on insurance companies.
Yeah, it's all the regulations. It's the value of the properties here are generally higher. All the above, all these variables, right?
Yeah.
So now they have this California insurance that's supposed to click in, right? Well, when they canceled everybody, there was a curing period, and the curing period's not up for.
Scotty, what do you mean California insurance?
Yeah, it's a California state insurance. They can't leave the people without insurance. Like the whole economy would. Yeah.
Because the last I heard, the people were talking about suing the state of California. But you're saying
here's the reason that they're doing that is that this Cal insurance only goes up to $3 million.
Oh, I see.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you had a property that was 10, 15, 7, 5, anything above that $3 million, you're liable, or you're for that other amount.
And I understand you still have to pay the taxes on the property, and you also, of course, if you had a mortgage, you still owe on the mortgage.
Yeah. You're still going to owe the mortgage. They do give relief for that for a while. So a lot of times, again, everybody uses these sound bites, like it's like immediate. I think a lot of the people, they'll get relief for like a year, but like in Hawaii, they have 2 homes built that people have moved into since the fire happened in Hawaii almost 2 years ago. Okay.
Only two new homes.
Only 2 new homes.
Yeah.
Okay. So one of the things that we have going for us here is the savviness of the people that are in town. And I'm not saying that derogatively or anything else like that, but when you're talking about Maui, you were talking about people that had their houses handed down generation to generation. They were local folk, salt of the earth people, worked in the hotels, worked very hard.
But in LA, they were all heavy hitters, a bunch of them.
a lot of them are heavy hitters, you know. There,
Yeah.
but there's about 30% of the people in the Palisades that had that particular situation happen to them as well. They had moved there, you know, with their families in the 50s and
Yeah.
60s,
Yeah.
or
Yeah,
you
for
know,
sure.
whatever,
Yeah.
and then passed the houses down from one to the other, and maybe they were just working at the library, or you know, regular jobs, or they were construction workers. You know, we know, I know two or three people that they were handymen and construction workers that handed
Yeah.
down to them, you know, property. So
Yeah.
that's another thing is now there's a whole section of people that um they were underinsured. So in order to stay there, you know, they couldn't, or they couldn't or didn't have the wherewithal to raise the amount of insurance that they had on their property. So if their property, like we had a property across the street that was probably worth 2.5 million. It was overgrown, unkept. You know, it just needs to be torn down. And there's a few of these little cottage houses that have been there forever. Well, they probably only had maybe 500,000 to who knows what. It was grossly under what they need to have the replacement cost.
And
So
even so, are they going to get their money? And the whole thing is a mess. And
yeah,
go ahead.
yeah, and so what we're doing is we're putting together a group of you know, contractors, you know, and builders that are local guys that can help anybody that wants the help. This is including me and a bunch of other guys in town, that we're here to help all of the people that need help, no matter who they
Yeah.
are. Where, you know, we've assembled lawyers. I've got all the architects that are ready to help, um, and organize, because this is the thing that they didn't have in places. And I'm 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 hoping that we can affect and make the same model for what's happening to you guys out in North Carolina, you know, because again, I mean, how many of the people in North Carolina were super savvy and know what to do on, you know, on this disaster for them, you know, and
The whole,
who's
the
or
whole thing, the whole thing is a mess. And,
right.
I have my opinions about it. I'll tell you. Uh, you know, like a lot of people, they're up in arms because there wasn't enough water. The fire hydrants weren't filled. They weren't clearing away the brush. And, but the thing is, it's not about having enough water so that if there's a fire, the fire hydrants are filled and they can fight the fire. That's guaranteed to fail, even if the fire hydrants were full. Have you been to Hoover Dam, huh, Scotty?
Yep.
Yeah, you know, you come in on the one side of the dam and then you're crossing desert, it's just barren. And then you cross the dam and go to the other side where all the people are living and it's lush, green. It's all just like night and day. And that's because people are living there. And that is natural. You can compare it to anything. Ants build ant hills. And they have these little mounds of dirt, and then the dirt goes to the sides, and maybe another mound, and before you know it, there's this whole area of ant hill, you know, mounds. And that's natural. That's going to happen. That's nature. But when it comes to human beings, there's this feeling that any impact we have on the environment is unnatural. And that's just not the way it works. Any species is going to accommodate their environment to what's natural for them. There was a golf tournament in Dubai. I think it just maybe just ended or it's still going on. I don't know. But channel surfing, it's looked at it. It was unbelievable. This is Dubai. This is desert. But the golf course itself was just beautiful, green and lush and deciduous trees and wonderfully kept uh, grounds in every respect, water fountains and everything. And then the camera though would shift off of the golf course just over a little bit, and you'd see the line of delineation where the golf course stopped. It was just barren desert. And then you'd look in the distant horizon from the camera shot, and there's this unbelievably developed city. It looks like something out of the Wizard of Oz, with all these incredible buildings and everything. And the point is that obviously those lands can be reclaimed. And wherever human beings are, it's natural to want to make that environment the most accommodating, for human beings. That's not unnatural. It's natural. It's nature. The whole Sahara Desert was and could be reclaimed into grasslands and lush and beautiful. And so what we think of as nature and natural isn't. They should desalinate water from the oceans, and they should just make everywhere where there's a population density along the California coast, it should be lush and green and lots of water and well manicured and beautiful. And that would be healthier, and it would be better for the environment because we wouldn't have these wildfires that just go crazy. They learned that in Yellowstone. With
Michael,
the fire, we're going to leave it go and let it be natural, and that was just stupid. And they realized that afterwards. What's Scotty? Scotty?
Yeah, well, I was having that same conversation with somebody that was talking about how, you can't manage the brush and everything. It's not natural to do those burns and things like that. And I reminded the guy that when you came here back in the 1500s, when this was all natural, there were no houses. But when
That's
you
right.
put the houses there, it's not natural. So we have
Everything
to do
changes.
not natural things to make sure that the people are okay, because I mean they were
Well,
lucky this
yeah, but
time.
the thing is, Scotty, I would argue that it is natural. It's not unnatural. When
No,
we
but
live in an
you know what I mean
environment, it's
by,
a little bit like, Scotty, if you have a house and
yep.
you're vacuuming the carpet, vacuuming the floor, and then all of a sudden, the government's going to pass some regulation, some law that says, no, you're no longer allowed to vacuum the floors in your house. You have to leave it, return to nature. It's got to be natural.
No,
It's ridiculous.
no, that's what I'm saying is that when we decided to put houses there that were, it wasn't part of nature and what God created, then now that changes things. And now we
And
have to
so,
take care of
yeah,
things,
but
and
I
we
would
have to,
phrase it a little differently. I was saying it is natural
right.
because the thing changed to live in harmony with nature is different than it was when no people were.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And phrasing it the way that I did, the guy really lit up. That was the he's like, wow, yeah, you know what, you're right, we did come in here, we decided to do these things, so we need to look after ourselves and our friends and our families and our what we've put together here.
Yeah, that's
So
right. The idea of what nature is, what harmony with nature is, what the laws of nature are, what the nature of existence is. The whole thing is far too simplistic. Even the leading physicists and the guys who developed the atomic bomb, I mean, it's simplistic compared to the real potential of the laws of nature. But it requires a major expansion of awareness. Nature is from the perspective of any limited paradigm, nature is very complicated. In fact, it's so complicated that you can't tell the physiology how to function, and you can't manipulate the physiology into a state of, immortality or what have you. We do our best and we modulate little parameters and things, but it's far beyond that. Even like a simple example would be the idea of like, okay, you do a blood test and you're deficient in a particular vitamin, say. And so, the solution then would be to take one of those vitamin pills every day. I'm not saying in every case that's not valid, but what I think is more frequently the problem isn't the lack of that vitamin, but it's the metabolic pathway ultimately creates that vitamin or maintains that vitamin in the physiology. And by feeding somebody the vitamin, it doesn't do anything to the deficiency in the metabolic pathway. And that's just one example of how things are far more complicated, and we get these simplistic ideas. Like here's a simplistic, here's an idea, and we could even take the example of electric cars, and the idea, let's not pollute anything, so let's just use electric batteries, and then there's no gas and oil pollution. But the thing is, what goes into making those electric cars, it's just the fact that the manufacturing of the batteries, the lithium and all that stuff, even though it's being done in China or wherever, the net global pollution is far greater from an electric car, even though maybe in the neighborhood where you're driving your car, you don't see the pollution. But if you're really interested in global health and the issue of climate change, for example, you have to look at the big picture. Approaches are too simplistic. Even the windmills that they're putting in the Atlantic Ocean off the northeast coast of the United States, the problems that has created, and it's like, oh, this light bulb goes off and we have this great idea and let's do it. Even solar panels, I mean, those things have a life expectancy, and then you've got this incredible pollution that what are you going to do with the panels after you can't use them anymore? But the whole thing is so far reaching, so far beyond it. Human behavior. What is natural for human behavior? We really have no idea. It goes far beyond and so how do you do it? You align the physiology, you align the awareness with the underlying basis of existence, which is, at its source, infinitely harmonious. It created the computer in front of me, the everything. It all came from an infinitely intelligent, infinitely creative source at the basis of all existence. That one thing that's the source of everything. And even in the arena of religious fervor, I mean, look what we did with that idea, that there's this one thing that's the source of everything, and it's God, and then everybody creates their own perspectives on God, and then they all start fighting and killing each other in the name of God. I mean, there needs to be a heck of a lot more humility in the arena of our understanding of nature and of life and what it means to live in harmony with that. Then we're willing to employ. I was watching. Scotty? Did you watch any of the hearings, the Senate hearings for approval of the cabinet members?
Yeah, I just saw clips.
Oh,
Yeah, but I saw a few that you're just like, come on,
yeah, the one of them that just astounded me was Pam Bondi, who was trying to get approved to be the Attorney General for the United States. And I was so impressed by the way she handled herself. There was this one senator, I think he made a fool out of himself.
Yeah.
I'm a
Yeah.
senator from Virginia, I think it is. And he was really going after her and pounding away at her. At one point, I was with her. I don't know word for word, but she said something. In fact, she said, "I will not be bullied. You are bullying me."
Yeah.
And I was like,
Yeah.
wow, she named it, you know. And then at another point, that Adam Schiff, who represents an area in Southern California, right? I think so. Anyway, he's a senator, and
Yeah.
uh, oh, he was going after her in the same kind of way. And she said to him, I couldn't believe it, but it really landed, She said to him, uh, "Sir, you were censured by Congress for this exact same type of behavior. And now you're doing it to me, that kind of a thing." And just by saying
Yeah.
it, it was so compelling. But that's our Senate. Those are our senators. Those are the people running the country. Are you kidding me? You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was embarrassing, to see.
Yeah, I mean, is mudslinging the foundation of our legal system, of our legislative branch of the government? I mean, I guess you could argue that it is, but it's just horrible. And I, I mean, we live in the age of hatred, don't we? I mean, people they have a perspective and they claim that perspective, and anybody that disagrees with them, there's a tendency to hate them, and it goes from the individual level, the business level, all the way up to international relations. It's all about anybody that you doesn't see eye to eye with you. There's hatred there, and then we fight wars. It's just the whole thing is ridiculous. It's a narrative mentality. I talked about that. Did I talk about that last week in the podcast? We have these little narratives, and we cling to them as truth. And if they stop working, what do? We look for another narrative. Real wisdom, they call a person smart if they're really good at a particular narrative. Real intelligence, real smarts, real wisdom is aligning with narrative that best serves the moment, and even coming up with a narrative in the moment spontaneously that best describes the situation. And that's just practically non-existent. We don't call that genius. It's so far beyond what we think of as genius. We think of a genius as somebody who's really good at a narrative. It's got to change, and it is changing. All this is changing. The culture of hatred is melting away. And we're going to see it. We're seeing the beginnings of it, but as it melts away, the people who are still clinging to a paradigm just attack that even more because now they're threatened. But it's happening. It's all going to get better. We just need that to hang in there. It also bothers me that, I mean, how long have we known that there was this water shortage in California? And they don't do anything about it until what? The big cities where the wealthy people live burns down. And now they're going to rise up. They're going to complain. And now all of a sudden they see the light. The vision is much too narrow. It's much too narrow. It'll change. Truth is going to come out in a lot of different arenas over the next year. And one of them is this, and it's already happening. And it's almost like they're letting it out gradually, but this whole thing with UFOs, UFOs are real. There's no question about it. And the only people that deny that are people that are just denying, but I certainly understand why people from more evolved planets and stuff want nothing to do with human beings. They don't want mingle with them and deal with them because they're savage. Human beings are savage compared to how they should be behaving. If we all just could get along, everybody on the planet would be living in abundance. But they're not capable of doing it. They're hooked on this very narrow mentality that keeps us from progressing. It's a little bit like, you wouldn't want to jump into a rattlesnake pit. And I can understand why, UFO people wouldn't want to jump in to the human culture, the way it functions. But it is changing. That's the good news. It's happening. We're in for a wonderful time. For those who are willing to see it, and a lot of people aren't willing to see it. Why aren't they willing to see it? Because it doesn't go along with their narrative. They think the age of enlightenment will be when everybody clings to their narrative, their perspective on what it is to be natural, what it is to be healthy. And it's just not that way. But the tidal wave is rising and everything's going to change for the better. Anything else, Scotty? Did you want to say anything else about all of this?
Well, just if there's anybody out there that has anybody affected by the fire or whatever and they need help, please reach out to me. You can find me on Facebook, Scott Davalos. I've put some posts up there, and we want to come together. We've brought a tremendous amount of just people that are interested in making sure the community is back as fast as it can and cares about the community. So
the community is what? And people care about the community?
Pacific Palisades. It's Pacific Palisades, California. The one that was just affected on the coastline in California.
So is your group focused just on Pac Pal, or is it the whole area?
Well, we've been concentrating on that, but if you need advice or somebody to help vet or help you navigate the waters and you're anywhere, we can take the same knowledge and we can apply it to anywhere. If you're in North Carolina and you need advice, you need people. We have a gentleman that's up in Maryland that we can have construction workers, tradesmen, all brought in and just in a the flick of a finger, we can have people helping in your neighborhood, even if it's in North Carolina, if it's here, if it's in here in California, if it's in Hawaii, and you need, you have family or friends or whoever needs help, we're here to help. So
that's great, Scotty. There's so many things like that where we can, people can focus, and what you're doing, it's a focus group on a particular situation, really, and it's fabulous. I personally, I keep my focus on the one thing that if we could just enliven that and have that well up through society, it would heal all these different arenas simultaneously. But
sure,
we can't just, and that's me full time. That's what I do. But at the same time, there's so many needs on a more localized sense, in a more short-term sense. I didn't know you were doing that, Scotty. I salute you for it.
Well, here's another thing I forgot to say too. If you're in that field or there's something that you can do to help, please reach out too, because there's lots of places, like you're working on what you are, I'm, I know what I know. Everybody knows what they know. So if we can come together, bring everybody together, organize each other, all work together, then we can do this much faster than we can do it on our own.
So your group is open to being like a central nervous system to coordinate all that.
Yeah, that's my vision, is to help organize and put together, these, we want the creme de la creme to come and help, so that we can show our methods and organization, how we do things, to make it simple and easy for these people that don't know any of this stuff, you know?
Yeah,
So,
and it's not really on a cute individual level I'm speaking here, but Elon Musk heard say that it's very easy to get the salt out of the saltwater of the oceans. And it's economical. It's not a big problem. They have the technology. And so my idea in that regard is to do that. And just make the whole west coast of California, anywhere there's a population, make it lush, make it abundant.
yeah.
And if you just drive across the Hoover Dam, you see where there's that tournament in Dubai, you know, a little water or a lot of water makes a huge difference, you know. Scotty, that's great. I salute you for it.
Yeah.
And, there's nothing else. I guess that's it for this week. Okay, Scotty?
All right. Yeah.
All right,
To be
everybody.
continued.
Yeah. Thanks for listening. We'll talk again next week.